Hey guys, I am back again with another sticker making tutorial. This time I'm doing it in the Silhouette software. I personally have a Silhouette portrait. The only difference between the portrait and the Cameo is the width of material it can cut. If you're just going to do print and cut products or projects, or just little small projects, nothing too major, I would suggest getting the Silhouette portrait. It's much smaller and much more affordable, and it can cut material that is up to 8.5 inches wide. The Cameo can cut material that is up to 12 inches wide. So if you're going to do bigger scrapbooking projects, if you're going to be cutting into that space more, I would suggest getting the Cameo. However, the portrait is just fine to work with. I really like my portrait. It's compact, it's small. If I wanted to travel with it, I could totally pack it up and travel with it. I mean, it's not taking up any space at all. My Cricut would be a chore to pack up and travel with. So today I'm going to show you how to cut PDF printables in Silhouette software. And what we're going to be doing is cutting this printable from my shop. It's the Groovy Florals printable that you can find in my shop. Like I said, it's called Groovy Florals. And I chose this one because you have boxes that have some white in them. So when you go to trace it, it's not going to work out properly. I personally never use the trace feature. I always overlay my own cut lines. I find it is easier to do. I find I get a crisper edge. I mean, it's once you kind of get the hang of it, it will be easier and not take you 7 years to do it. If you use the trace feature, you're getting kind of rougher edges. It's not, it may seem like it's simple, but if you want better, crisper cut images from printables that you download, it's better to just do this process. So if you have the designer edition of Silhouette Studio, you can take a PDF and just drop it into your program and it will convert it. So when you order from my shop, you get a zip file, and in the zip file is the printable sticker kit, but also printing instructions for trimming them by hand. So if you take this PDF here and drag it over to your Silhouette document, it should load it up here. So yeah, we'll get this dialog. You want to import it as an image, and you want to make the DPI, that's dots per inch, that's going to be your print quality at 300 DPI. That is the maximum print quality that these are designed at, and so that is going to be the best print quality for these stickers. So then we just click on import. And what you will get is a image here of your printable. It's already sized to 8.5 by 11. We can go over here to the scale. No, to align is what I meant. Go over to align and put center to page. That's going to bring it in the middle of your page. Now, if we were to overlay the cut lines, you will see that the boxes are in the gray area that we don't need them to be in. So I'm going to take off the, the cut lines, the registration marks for a second. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to use this knife tool to slice this. So what we're going to do is select this one. We're going to zoom in here. We're going to click on the knife tool. We're going to make sure it says straight. We're going to come over here. This might take you a bit. And slice our image in half. I don't think it's directly in half, actually. I think it is like it's almost in half. It's kind of off. So I'm going to hit Control C, File, New, make this landscape, and hit Control V, and that's going to paste your images in here. Now, you can see that if we go to our registration marks, you can see that this first half fits into the registration marks. So then we just go over to our first canvas, delete that. We're going to make this landscape. We can fit this in there, go to our registration marks, and go here like that. So I'm going to work from this one because it's the most easy to work with right now since it is square. If you want to, what I normally do, since there's a lot of wasted space here, what I normally do is go over to my knife tool again and slice this up. And I know that I often use more of the decorative boxes than the, what do you call it? The full check boxes or whatnot here. So we can just take the knife tool again, line it up, and holding down the shift key to make this straight line, we can cut the image again. And so now you have it separated. We go back up here to center it to the page, and we can take this, move it all the way up to the cut line, take this right here, and then we can also Control C, Control V, and bring this down here and have more items to cut. You can also use your knife tool to slice up these guys if you want to bring them over here and fill this in. It's all up to you. So now what I do is I go over and take a rectangle and I zoom in and go over to my first rectangle here and just draw a rectangle around it like that. Then I make sure I've got the red line. This is our cut line. I've got that selected. I go over to scale, unlock the aspect, type in 1.9 by width, nope, 1.5 by 1.9, and that scales my box. And you can see it's kind of off, so that's why we use our zoom tool to go in and select. It takes a little bit to get it selected. And line it up, eyeball it, line it up, and get it in like that. Then what you can do is hold down your Control key and hit the right arrow button, and that will duplicate your box to the right. Then I just use the Shift key and the arrow button and move it over. If you need to change the color of the line so you can see it better, you can do that. So now we have this all lined up. I'm going to change it back to that red color. And then we can hold down the Control key and hit the right arrow again. Scroll over because we just duplicated that cut line for this box. Then I hold the Shift key down and use my arrow keys to nudge the box over. Do the same thing. Keep moving over, keep moving over. And you can see if you start off by doing the boxes first, you'll get a lot of the bulk of the work done. Whereas, or you'll get a bulk of the work done, and then you can go back and work on the finer things. So now we're going to go down here. I'm just going to hit Control. I'm going to use the Control key again and hit the down arrow, and that's going to duplicate the box down. I'm going to use the Shift key to line it up. Again, we can change the color if we need to make sure. And just you can see that's too far, so we just want to line it up there. And then you can take this bottom here and bring it up till it meets, whoops, I hate this thing, it's so, there we go. Okay, bring it up till it meets the bottom there, and then go back and change. I like to have all my cut lines to be red. That's just what I like. And then we can hold down the Control key again, use the left arrow key, and that will duplicate your box to the left. And then hold down Shift and nudge it with your left arrow key to line it up. Move over to this orange box, same thing, Control key, left arrow key, hold down the Shift key, keep moving the left arrow key until it's lined up on the box. Control key, left arrow, Shift key, keeping the left arrow down or moving the left arrow over. And then if you need to nudge it just small portions, you can lift up on the Shift key and that will just nudge it a little bit. I just like using the Shift key because it makes it go over by more pixels. So then again, you can hit Control down arrow and that will duplicate your box again. I'm going to use the scale section and make this a height of 1.9 again, since we know our box is going to be that tall. So then we can just, whoops, use the shift key and nudge it down until it lines up. And then we'll just do that same sort of thing. And you can see if you do this and line it up, it's easier to see where the borders are here. Because like this has a lot of white space in it. So if we were to trace this, if you were to use the trace tool, it would want to trace all of this and cut like this instead of cut in a square. So then control right arrow, shift key, nudge it to the right until it lines up. Control right arrow, scroll over, nudge it with the shift key and the right arrow until it lines up. Control right arrow, shift key, and nudge it until it lines up. We scroll down, control down arrow. Had a little glitch there. Shift key until it lines up, and you can check out the bottom and make sure. Once you have one lined up, you can kind of keep going over. So control arrow key, line it up. Control arrow key, line it up. And whenever I want to nudge it just a little bit like this, I lift up on the shift key, and that only nudges it a few pixels. Whoops. And if you screw up, you can just hit Control Z and it'll bring you right back to the origin then. I was trying to use the side scrolly thingy here. Control left arrow, shift key, keep nudging it to the left. Line them up. Line them up. So I believe we've gotten all of them. So now you have all of your cut lines overlaid really, really, really quickly on your printable. So then you could just hit, you know, send it to your thing. I'm not sure how the, excuse me, the basic edition versus the design edition is anymore. You can use standard, you can use advanced. This is just going to set your depth or whatnot. Standard is fine for this because you're not doing a multi-cuts. You just want to make sure you're cutting the edge and then set your blade to, I use the washi sheets and I always set my blade to, I have it set a certain way. So my settings might not work for you. So that's how you overlay cut lines on your full boxes and checklist boxes. So now we'll move on to overlaying cut lines on something like this. Let me go and show the cut border here. What you can do is, see if we can get away. I hate how sometimes it leaves the highlight or like the offset, I don't know, color, faded color from going into the cut setting screen. So anyway, I'm just going to hit Control C on one of these big boxes here. Go over here and hit Control V. And I'm going to bring it over to this one here. I'm going to zoom in just like we did before. And use my arrow keys to line this guy up. And like I said, I always start with the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to hit Control and the right arrow key. Use the Shift key to line this up. Control and the right arrow key. And use my arrows to line this up. Whoops, why did I do that? Right arrow key. Line it up again. Use this to go up here. Whoop. Control right arrow key and over like that. Okay. And then you can do the same thing. Control down arrow and use the arrow keys to line it up. Then drag this up to meet your bottom here. You can even go over to the scale, unlock the aspect, and change it to exactly 2.5. Sweet. And then control down arrow, line it up, down arrow, control down arrow, line it up. Etc. And then you just repeat this for all of your little things like that. Yeah, or not little things, all of your headers. We can go over to the rounded corner shape and sort of just freehand a shape here. Then use the scaling, I guess, tool. We don't really want to make it bigger. We can go over here. We know it has to be 1.5 inches wide. And sort of line it up, eyeball it. Move this up here. Now, if this wasn't matching up exactly, you could change the points here by dragging them, and that changes all 4 points. Like that. And then we just control down arrow key to duplicate it and line it up again down here. Around the same thing. You would repeat the same process for this style. Take your rounded corner tool, draw something that is kind of the same shape. We do know that it needs to be 1.5 inches wide. And then just take it to match, and you can see it doesn't really match here. So if we just drag the corners, we can get it to line up pretty much. That looks about good. And then control right arrow key and then use your arrow keys to line it up again. For the weekend banner, you'll want to use this, excuse me, draw point to point thing here. I don't like to use the curved one. I like to use the one that's going to make straight lines. So I just line it. You want to give this a little bit of an offset. You don't want to cut it right on the border there. So I just go up like this. We're going to change this later, so you don't have to worry about it not being exact. I'll show you how to do that. And then you just, and see how this is kind of, I think it's too close. I'm just hit Control Z, that removes that first point, and bring it out a little bit farther. And like I said, you don't have to worry about this being super duper exact right now. We can go back and edit these points later. You just want to do a rough outline here just to get it down and done. Okay, then we can click on the arrow key, click on this outline. If you double click it, it'll bring up all the points here, so you can just use here and adjust this. We can add a point. And it may not look like it's a perfect curve, but when you're cutting it out and you get it from your machine, it's not going to look horrible. This is what I do for all of mine, and it still looks pretty much like a curve. So you can bring it down like that. Maybe bring this one up a little bit. And you see how simple that was? If you think, oh, I really don't like it, I really want it to be kind of curved, just go in, do that same thing, add points here. And if you think, oh, that's too far, okay, we'll bring this guy up a little bit. And then you have a trace outline for your weekend banner. And now for these guys, what you can do excuse me, is try to make one yourself with a circle and a square. I'm not going to do that though, because that's going to take longer to manipulate and figure out if you've got it right, rather than just kind of taking your line 1 line point to point multi-point line creator. I know that's a great, can I hover over this? Will it tell me? Draw a polygon. You can see I have a lot of technical background in the polygon making, you know, whatever you call it. And I just go along and trace it. The best thing about this way is that once you have it traced, you can generally use it for every other one that you make. Like you can generally, you don't have to trace a teardrop every time. Generally, everybody's going to have like the same sort of style of them. And so you can just squish it to fit. Let's see here. Whatever needs to be fit. And I know that's a square edge, so I just did that. And then you just trace it around. I mean, it seems like it's taking a while, but it actually is the best way to get a good trace. It really, really is. You just take the time to do it and do it. It'll get done. So then we can click on it here. I'm gonna like squish it a little bit, squish it in here a little bit. Use your arrow keys to kind of line it up. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be recognizable as a little teardrop guy. Now you're not going to be able to tell if that this is like off. Once you cut it, it'll be fine. It will cut out a teardrop shape. It's not going to be an awkward shape. So then you can, now that you have that shape created, you just hit Control, right arrow key, and then use your arrow keys to line it up. Control, right arrow key, use your arrow keys to line it up. Make sure it fits in there. Control, right arrow key, and use your arrow keys to line it up. Now let's say you go to another printable and they have teardrops, but they're a different size. You can just scale it like that. You can squish it up a little bit. You know, squish it up a little bit there, squish it up a little bit here. However you need to do to get that done. Like I said, I mean, this whole video is not that long. It only took me about 20 minutes from starting this video to right now to get this done. I know I haven't traced all of these, but then you would just overlay a circle here. A lot of it is selecting the box, Control, and nudge it down with the arrow key, things like that. Now, let's say we want to move all of this, whoops, up and out of the way, and we want to add some more boxes that we want, or maybe our weekend banner is getting caught up in here, or we want to do something else. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and turn the grid on. You can see the grid right here, and I'm going to select this, zoom in on these boxes right here. I'm going to take my knife tool and I'm going to hold down the shift key and slice right here, slice right here, slice right here, and slice right here. I don't know if I sliced it enough. Hopefully. Yeah, and so we have that. So, I'm going to hit Control Z. I am going to select this one, select the background, and select the other cut line if I can get it. Cut line, there you are. And the background, hit Control C, and then we have this out here again. So you could rotate this. I don't know if it's going to fit. It's not going to fit in there. So you could use the knife tool to slice it in half again. Let's go over to the knife tool and zoom in on our guys here and slice it right down the middle. Now you have two guys. We have 2 more boxes down here. Now, and you can do that. You can, whoops, I was trying to select all here and rotate, and you can, mother of pearl, let's group those together. And then you can do that. You can do the same thing. Use the knife tool to make more icons. Use the knife tool to separate these guys out and move your weekend banner up. Make more of these teardrops. Whatever you want to do to fill up your canvas. However, when you go to your cut settings and you go to standard and you go to cut edge, let me see here. I don't know, sometimes it's giving me something weird. You want to make sure that you're only cutting out the rounded corners here. You're not cutting out this square and then, or cutting out the rounded shape here and then also cutting out the square behind it. That's why I like the what do you call it? The designer edition, because I can set which cut lines, which things I want to cut. Like this here has no color around it. So if that was set, it would cut all the shapes plus all this black lines. You don't want that. You just want the red lines to be your cut lines, which is why I always set all my cut lines to red. And so you can see here what's going to cut, what's not going to cut, things like that. But like I said, this is the easiest way to get a crisp, clean image when it comes to tracing printables from anyone's shop. A lot of times you can slice them right down the middle, right down the side. However you can do it to get the printable to fit on your, or in your registration marks. I move my registration marks and I don't have a problem with it. However, I know a lot of people who run into problems with their registration marks. So, if they move them, so don't freak out if you move it and it freaks out on you. If you are a beginner, just go ahead and leave them the same way that they are. Use your knife tool to trace it around, or to trace them out, cut them out, and then trace them with the actual rectangle or rounded corner, or draw a polygon tool. It is really helpful, and you can see this is going to cut a pretty nicely rounded sticker. And yeah, so I hope this video was helpful. Again, I want to stress that this is the, I don't want to say the best way, but it is the best way, the most effective way to get great crisp cut images or cut stickers when you're trying to print and cut a printable from an Etsy shop or online or whatnot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. I would love for you to subscribe and stick around for more videos. I'm going to do more silhouette videos. I have more Cricut videos down below, linked in various playlists. If you want, you can follow me on on Instagram. It's 516ths, and my blog is 516thsblog.com. I'll talk to you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.